Hello YouTube, Samuel here. Today we're going to talk about Game of Thrones Season 7, Episode 2, Dragonestone. Thanks for tuning in. Just take a quick second to remind you that you can subscribe to this video and hit that bell in case you want to see more videos like this one. So before we get into this, just in case you haven't seen the video, spoilers are ahead. So if you haven't seen the show yet in last week's episode yet, don't watch this unless you really don't care. One of the coolest things I thought about this episode was we really start to see unlikely pairings. So we see Tyrion vouching for Jon Snow, a man he hasn't seen in years and barely knew. Tyrion's proved himself to be a good judge of character, so to see him stand up for Dany and to speak for Jon was actually really neat. We all knew that it was going to take something for her to even come and even consider Jon, because as far as she's concerned, Westeros is hers, and the army coming from the north is nothing. And as I said in my last video, Jon really doesn't give a shit about Westeros in terms of who it belongs to or who's the king or who's anything. All he cares about is keeping as many people alive as possible, because every time somebody dies, that's just feeding the other army. You kind of shoot yourself in the foot by killing other people, because they're just going to rise up and come at you later. So when the Night King comes south of the wall, they're going to be in deep shit. I loved how Melisandre comes in and talks to Dany. I was a little weird. I thought it was really weird though that she didn't drop the "he's been raised from the dead" on him. I suspect that in the next episode that what she's going to have Jon do is just tell his story about how he died and how the Lord of the Light brought him back to life, as yet another reason for Dany and him to work together. One of the things I found extremely amusing about this episode was how Archmaester and Samwell were talking about Jorah's condition in front of Jorah, as though Jorah wasn't even there. It's this idea that like people who have grayscale aren't even people anymore, and they don't matter. Sam felt obligated to try and help him because of what his father had done for him. I feel like though that what's going to happen is that when he tries this experimental treatment, that it's going to get him thrown out. So I almost want to think that they're going to run off. He and Jorah are going to run off together to go and meet Dany in Dragonestone, and thus also come to be meeting Jon, because essentially what Jon sent Sam down to the Citadel to learn, he's already learned and ascertained that information. I feel like Game of Thrones is really stepping up their editing in this season, where we're seeing jump cuts and cuts that are well placed, where we see Sam cutting into the grayscale and then it transitions over into Arya cutting into that pie. The visual is so perfect and so amazing. It just grosses you out. And they've been doing this when they did it with the soup and the bedpans, and I love it. I want to see more stuff like this. Hot Pie, a throwaway character from way back in early seasons, has actually been more important than the Sand Snakes. Hot Pie's being here to tell key information to key people at key times. So there was to tell Brynn where Arya was, or now to tell Arya that Winterfell has been freed from the Bolton's reign and is now belongs to her brother and sister. Whereas we get the Sand Snakes, who for a couple seasons now have just kind of done nothing. I mean, they come and they flex their muscles, and they killed Marcella, which was a side character anyway. Didn't have much to do with the story, and now they've been wiped out. And it makes me feel like you could take their characters and cut them out of the story completely, and it really wouldn't change the overall story. And that disappoints me a little bit to see that happen. I would have liked to have then gone back and had something else in those episodes that actually was going to amount to something. I love though the reunions, because whether it was with Arya and her direwolves, Nymeria, or Hot Pie, it shows her conflicted, and it shows that she's really, as much as she wants her revenge, her family's still very important to her. And I think a lot of her journey has been about the fact that she lost her family and has presumed most of the has presumed most of them to be dead. And so now she has this chance to go and reconnect with Jon, who she had the strongest bond with, because they were both kind of outsiders. And so I love the conflict when she was sitting on the path and trying to decide, do I go to Winterfell or do I go down to King's Landing and kill Cersei? But I feel like it shows growth on her part to go up to Winterfell, because it shows that she's, as much as she's become a badass, her need for revenge is not as great as her need to be with people that actually know who she is. Which is kind of funny, since she spent so much time trying to erase who she was. The meeting with the direwolves, I think, is important, because I think that's going to come into like an A-bomb later on in the war against the dead. So I think it was really important to have this meeting with Nymeria and to show that there was still a connection between them, because I feel that the bond between her and Nymeria, and her being this lost person, if she goes home at this point, that in a way Nymeria is going to be able to go home. Something that everybody's been pissed off about, or at least think, oh, what the hell, is Theon bailing on Jorah. Now, I don't believe that this was something of cowardice. Although it's been proven that his character is a coward and would rather run to save his own skin, I feel like in this moment, when he was looking at Euron and Jorah, he realized that if he went there, they were all going to die. I feel as though when he jumped off overboard, that this was a move of strategic value, that he would prefer to come back and fight another day. I want to believe that eventually Theon's going to go and just really come back and do something super heroic and go out in a blaze of glory. And then it's going to make up for all the cowardice on all the crappy things he's done. He kind of redeemed himself a bit when he helped Sansa escape, but I think that there's something more epic in store for his character. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments below, what was your favorite part of this episode? As always, you can subscribe. Here's my latest video, and here's another video you might like. Till next time, stay awesome.